Picture this, an alliance so insanely secretive that for decades the general public literally had zero idea it even existed. We're talking about a group that silently scoops up intelligence from orbiting satellites, deep-sea submarines, massive global cyber networks, and yes, everyday communications. But here's the crazy part. They don't have a public parliament. Their leaders don't line up for a big annual summit photo. There's no giant recognizable headquarters building that you or I could just go visit. And yet, plenty of experts consider it to be the single most powerful intelligence-sharing network in human history.
Welcome to this explainer. Today we are unpacking the absolute enigma that is the Five Eyes. It's the most deeply integrated intelligence alliance ever created. We're going to explore exactly who they are, how they quietly operate behind the scenes of major global events, and why their network impacts literally everything, from the security of your personal bank account to the shifting geopolitics of the entire world. Let's get into it.
Part 1. The Secret Global Alliance. So first things first, what actually is it? Well, Five Eyes, which is often just abbreviated as FVE, is an incredibly exclusive intelligence-sharing alliance made up of exactly 5 English-speaking countries. Now, they don't just sit around sharing generic diplomatic advice. No, they are instantly sharing highly sensitive global surveillance, massive mountains of cybersecurity info, counter-terrorism intelligence, and military data. It is a tightly knit, behind-closed-doors group, and their entire focus is on global threat detection.
Okay, so who's actually on the roster here? The members are the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and they bring some seriously heavy-hitting intelligence agencies to the table. You've got the US bringing massive, unmatched scale with the NSA and the CIA. The UK leverages the legendary GCHQ and Secret Intelligence Service, and they are completely interlocked with Canada's CSE, Australia's Signals Directorate, and New Zealand's Communications Security Bureau.
Part 2. How intelligence sharing works.
To really wrap your head around how this abstract system operates, think of it like a giant neighborhood watch. Imagine 5 elite security companies hired to protect different zones of a massive neighborhood. But instead of keeping their camera feeds and sensor data all to themselves, they share everything, instantly. If Company A spots a suspicious vehicle, companies B, C, D, and E are alerted in real time so they can track it too. That is exactly how Five Eyes functions, just on a planetary scale. They collect the data, analyze it locally, instantly pool those findings into shared databases, and then coordinate joint responses.
And listen, they're not just tapping landline phones like in some old Cold War spy movie. They are gathering a comprehensive, multi-layered view of global threats. They rely heavily on SIGINT, that's intercepting radio, military, and electronic communications. But they layer that with HUMINT, meaning actual human spies on the ground, GEOINT, which is highly advanced satellite imagery, and increasingly CYBENT, where they are constantly monitoring the digital world for cyber threats. It's a massive overlapping web.
Part 3. Origins in the shadows. To understand their power today, we really have to travel back in time. The whole thing actually traces its roots back to the US and UK teaming up to crack enemy codes during World War II. Then, in 1946, they formalized this with a highly secret UK-USA agreement. Over time, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand were brought into the fold. Throughout the Cold War, they were totally laser-focused on monitoring Soviet military activity. Fast forward to 2001, and the 9/11 attacks caused a massive pivot toward counterterrorism. And today, in the 2020s, the alliance has evolved again, heavily prioritizing modern digital warfare, China, Russia, and AI.
Now, this perfectly illustrates a really crucial distinction. People constantly confuse Five Eyes with NATO, but they are fundamentally different beasts. NATO is huge, 32 members, highly public, totally focused on military defense and actual troops on the ground. Five Eyes? Just 5 members, operating totally in the shadows. It's not a military alliance, it's deep intelligence integration, built for lightning-fast information sharing. Basically, NATO is the visible shield, Five Eyes is the invisible radar.
Part 4. Modern Threats and Cyber Warfare.
As you can imagine, the battlefield looks completely different now. Today, the Five Eyes aren't just hunting for Soviet submarines. They're focused on protecting your bank account, securing global financial markets, and defending the energy grids that literally keep our lights on from state-sponsored hackers. They're monitoring fragile supply chains, securing semiconductors, and fighting off massive disinformation campaigns. The goal here is making sure the digital and economic infrastructure of the modern world doesn't just collapse under a coordinated cyber attack.
Now, while the core of this group remains strictly those 5 original nations,
the modern threat landscape is just too big. They need a wider net. So they've built out strategic webs. You've got 9 eyes, which adds European partners like France and Germany, and 14 eyes for even broader coordination. On top of that, they're actively building strategic partnerships with rising tech and defense powers like India and Japan. They might not be full members of the core network, but that cooperation is absolutely vital for balancing out emerging global threats.
Part 5. The mass surveillance debate. You'll often hear experts refer to Five Eyes as the closest intelligence sharing partnership in history. And it's that extreme level of closeness that allowed them to build mind-boggling systems, like the famous Echelon network, to intercept global communications. But as you might guess, having the unprecedented power to monitor the entire globe brings us to one of the most intense controversies of the 21st century.
We are staring down the ultimate modern dilemma: security versus privacy. On the one hand, this alliance gives us unmatched threat detection. They stop terrorist networks and protect civilian infrastructure from devastating cyber warfare. We literally rely on them to stay safe. But on the other hand, the 2013 Edward Snowden leaks revealed the shocking, frankly terrifying, extent of their mass surveillance programs. That sparked a massive global debate over transparency, the tracking of everyday citizens, and the terrifying potential for all this gathered intelligence to be misused politically.
Part 6. The future of Five Eyes.
So where does this leave us? Well, the next decade for Five Eyes is going to be entirely defined by emerging tech. They are scrambling right now to integrate artificial intelligence to process intelligence way faster than humans ever could. They're also racing to develop quantum-resistant security, prepping for a day when quantum computers could just shatter traditional encryption. And they have to do all of this while balancing intense geopolitical standoffs with major powers like China and Russia, all while navigating that incredibly loud, ongoing debate over privacy rights. Which really brings us to a profound crossroads. As technology races forward at just breakneck speed, creating threats we couldn't even imagine a decade ago, this secretive alliance forces all of us to face a very tough question. Will the absolute necessity for global cybersecurity eventually outweigh our fundamental right to digital privacy in this new AI and quantum era? It's a massive balancing act of safety and freedom that Five Eyes, and honestly all of us, are going to have to figure out. Keep learning, keep thinking, and keep growing. Catch you next time.